stage is yours, Mike.
All right, thank you. All right, my name is Mark Haidar. I'm the founder and CEO of Vinli. Vinli is a US-based company based in Dallas, Texas. But I actually grew up here in Lebanon, and I left in 2006. What I want to share with you today is my story of how I grew up in Lebanon, I went to the United States, and started a few companies over there. I grew up in Lebanon in a mixed refugee area called Wadi Zaini. And the interesting thing about this small town is that it was a mix of like nomads. We had Palestinian refugees, we had gypsies, we had Bedouins, and we had like people from, a lot of people from South Lebanon who actually left their villages and lived there. I wanted to show you like just a picture from our neighborhood here. Actually, I was looking in, this is our neighbor. His name is Abu Ahmad. I found this picture really interesting, and it kind of encapsulates like how our neighborhood was, how our neighbors were. But in case you're wondering, yes, they are actually making coffee in the middle of the living room, and their kids that are sitting right next to, a big pot of fire there. And of course, the big question is that yes, this is a goat, and the goat is watching the news. So, in there. But yeah, so we grew up in a pretty, poor neighborhood. This was my school, my elementary school here. And one of the biggest things happened to me when I was 13 years old at a school when the United Nations donated 3 computers to our school. And the moment I saw the computers, I was fascinated by it, and I was probably the only one using them at the school, and I couldn't leave the computer lab. And this is how I started learning programming at the age of 13. And when I was 17, I had to go to university, and my dad couldn't afford the tuition, so what I wanted to do, so I started my first company, and I called it MCS. This is actually my actual business card. I found it, between my stuff. And if you look at it, I actually used Microsoft Word and macros, which were big back in the day. My marketing plan was, challenge Albert Einstein's quotation, which says like we're living in an age where technology has surpassed humanity, and I was egotistical enough to say like, I'm here to, to make sure that this will not happen. And so anyway, so this was my first company, and the whole mission statement of the company was to make $4,000 a year, because that was the tuition, the yearly tuition. And so what I used to do is like I'd look for any type of project, any kind of RFP, and whatever I see, I would actually bid it for $4,000, whether it cost 30 grand or $100,000 or $200. That is the number, and in my head was, whatever it takes, I'll work 12 months on this, and I'll make $4 grand to pay my tuition. This is actually one of the projects I did while I was in university. I was 18 years old. This is a smart chair, and I'm going to give you like show you my lab, which was the yard that is in front of the grocery store in our neighborhood. This actually a video recorded back then. But we didn't have electricity, as you can see, so we had the generator. We turned the generator on, and we had the big spotlight to actually show, so we can actually videotape this. But this is one of my first projects, create a smart chair to become a bed, and you can control it through your computer. And you can see this is the ice cream fridge there. And you're going to see a little bit like some tomatoes and oranges and bananas, and you can see in a bit like a kid really excited about it. But, the idea is just, I grew up in an environment that is not the typical environment to create a company or do things in technology. Or, you literally grew up in an environment where it's actually the complete opposite of that. Yeah. It's an environment where there's no one who uses computers, no one does startups, And definitely there's no money, and there are no VCs. This is actually our transportation. My dad's car is called Lada. For those of you who don't know, it's a Russian car. And this is what we did. We were actually transferring the smart chair to an exhibit. And of course, the Lada only worked for 10 minutes. And every time it turns off, and we have to push it and turn it back on. This is one of my friends helping out. So anyways, while I was doing my undergrad studies, did a lot of projects, and built one of the first 3D game engines in the Middle East, built a home automation system. I even transformed our municipality records from paper to digital and created one of the first social networks for citizens. Won a few awards. But then when I graduated, I was 23 years old, and I wanted to leave the country. And I wanted to go to the United States. I watched too many movies, drank the Kool-Aid about the American dream, and I really wanted to go there. And so I got a really good job offers before I left. I had a really good resume. And any of these job offers is more money than what my entire family made. Like 1 month's salary was probably a 2 or 3 years revenue of what my dad used to make. So, but I rejected the offers. I did not take a job, and I wanted to leave. And I applied for visas. The problem is that I didn't have money to pay for my tuition in the US. So being here in Lebanon, you just have to be creative and hack things together. One of our extended family members printed a bank statement for me that he would sponsor me. And I went to the embassy, did doing the interview, and where I grew up from, where I'm from South Lebanon, grew up in refugee areas, it's young male, so it's not usually I'm not like the typical profile you'd get a visa to fairly quickly. But anyways, doing the interview, and the visa officer asked me, "Oh, your English is pretty good," because I didn't go to great schools or great universities. So she told me, how did you learn English? And I told her, well, I watched, and how do you know so much about the United States? I told her, well, I watched the 2 best documentaries about the United States. And she told me, what documentaries? Or was Seinfeld and The Simpsons. And of course, she started laughing. Anyway, so I got the visa. She told me, you're going to go through administrative processing, which is basically background check. And usually it takes, a couple of months, usually back in the day, in order to get that visa. And but ironically, within 2 days, I got a call from the U.S. Embassy, and they told me that, bring your passport, so we can put the visa on. So anyways, I went there. They stamped the visa. Was really happy, but then it's like, oh man, how am I going to pay my tuition? So I was still waiting for responses from universities in Australia, Canada, and Switzerland. Maybe one of these universities is going to give me a scholarship. But then something happened. In 2006, literally 4 days after I got my visa, the 2006 war started. And the first 5 days of the war were brutal. It was literally where the airplanes were bombing every single bridge, every power plant, and everything. And where we lived literally very close to the GE power plant, and we had 2 major bridges next to us, and there were ships in the sea in front of us, bombing any car that goes on the road. The bridges got destroyed. They started bombing the power plant, and we all thought we were going to die. And one of the toughest moments in my life happened then. And then my dad comes to me, and he has a Bank Audi card. And he gives it to me, and he tells me, I have $2,200 in my bank account. Leave $300 for us so we can buy food, and take the rest and leave to the United States. You're the only one who could live. And you go pursue dreams. At least if they bomb the house, or if anything happens here, you're the only one who, at least one of us survives, and you live. And I told him, how am I gonna, leave, here and leave you guys pursue my dreams and take all your savings? I cannot live with that. He told me, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna fight an F-15 with, stone, or just look at it? I mean, there's no way you can do it. This is the only practical option. So I told him, how am I gonna get to the borders, Now, living in an area like Wadi Zaini also has its own advantages. our neighbor was an oil smuggler between Lebanon and Syria. And he's actually the cousin of Abu Ahmad that I showed you the picture for in the first slide. And so anyways, he had a red truck, and he told me, yeah, I'll take you to the border, for 100,000 Lebanese lira, which was a lot of money to me back then. And so I went and and then I said goodbye to my dad. He literally fell between my hands. I couldn't, it was really hard for all of us. My mom could not say goodbye to me because at that moment it sunk in that this could be the last moment that we're going to see each other. And it was one of the hardest moments in my life. And so anyways, we said goodbye and we started the journey. How I got from Lebanon to Syria, then Jordan, then Turkey, then Germany, and then how I made it to the United States somehow with $1,700 in my, that's a completely different story. But anyways, I made it to the United States. And I made it to the United States with literally, I had only a few things. I had a knockoff polo shirt, jeans, and I was actually wearing slippers. And for my bag, I took my dad's old brown Samsonite. So literally, I was walking in New York with just an old Samsonite and slippers, and I saw the Statue of Liberty, and that was just, it was like a scene from a movie. So anyways, I got to the United States, and then reality sunk in. I had $200 remaining in my pocket, and I cannot work legally because I was on a visa called an F1 visa. I could not work legally, and I had a $30,000 a year tuition, right? So what am I going to do? So one of my cousins who lived there, he got me an interview at a gas station in Detroit. And that was the toughest job interview I had in my life. So I go to the gas station, and my cousin told me, do not tell them that you just came to the United States. So I go to the gas station, and so I pretend like, hey, I got this. So I get the paper, I draw all the shelves, all the items, print the PLUs, and then go back, memorize everything, and come back the next day and show them that I got this. And then I got the job. And the job was to go work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, night shifts in Detroit. But that was only going to pay for my expenses, food, phone, transportation, and all of that. And so I started saving money. I lived off Taco Bell. They had the cheesy bean and rice burritos with 89 cents. Amazing, saved my life. But then I had to pay my tuition. It was $30,000. There's no way I can make that much money. So the chairman, and this is also the second inflection point happened in my life, the chairman of engineering, he looked at my resume and he wanted me to be a teaching assistant. Now, teaching assistant in the US, you can only work 20 hours a week and for $10 an hour. So that's not going to make any difference. But while I was walking to his office, I see a request for proposals from the US military. So the US military funds a lot of research in the United States, and they send them to schools, and the schools apply for it, and they get a grant, right? So anyways, I tell the professor, can I be a research assistant? He said, well, you're only a master's degree student, and we don't have a research yet. I told him, what about the research outside, the proposal? He said, we don't have time to write it. I told him, what about if I write it, and if you get the grant, would you pay my tuition? And he was like, sure. So anyways, I go back to the gas station, and this is the epitome of irony, all right? A 23 years old male from South Lebanon in the United States for his master's degree, working illegally at a gas station at night in Detroit, writing a proposal for the US military, right? So he wrote the proposal, and 15 days later, the university got the grant. And when we got the grant, they started paying my tuition. So all of a sudden, I was working as a full-time research assistant, full-time master's student, and more than a full-time at a gas station. I had literally 4 to 5 hours a day to actually sleep. It was between 2:30 p.m. to around 6:30 p.m., and that was the only free time I had. And I had to sleep. If I missed that 4-hour window, I'm not going to sleep. So I lived off 5-hour energy drinks, sleeping pills. That was not recommended by the doctors. But it was a great university. The research for the US military was to build a connected car platform that allows vehicles in the battlefield to be able to communicate with each other and add sensors on the fly. So this is me in there working on the research. So anyways, I finished my school, got my master's degree, did a lot of publications, and then I started another company. I had $25 in my bank account. My business partner also had $25 in his bank account. Luckily, that was the minimal amount at Bank of America to actually open a business account. So he put $25, I put $25, and started a company, and the company was called Dialexa. And the reason we started this company, because we wanted to create a product company, but we didn't know what the hell we were going to create. So what we did is, let's create a company that builds products, right? And Dialexa was a company that takes things from an idea to a product in the market. We got our first project, and I think this is a little significant, was for one of the first big project for a German company that was trying to change the way dental implants work. And they wanted a software that you can actually import any 2D CAT scan that the dentist uses, put them in the software, generate a perfect 3D model of the tooth, and send it in a 6-axis milling machine to print a perfect replicate of your tooth. And everyone in Germany, Russia, US told them, oh, you can't do this. We were hungry, and I told them, of course we can, you know? And anyways, so all of a sudden I had to learn about dentistry, 3D modeling, and all of that. But anyways, we built the product, we executed on it, and that gave us enough cash to really galvanize the company and grow it. And within 3 years, we built more than 42 products literally from companies like Lockheed Martin to Staples to venture-backed startups to even the airport, the new airport in Qatar. We built all the systems. We integrated most of the systems that they have. But then we realized, who we are as a company, not only just to help other companies to build their product. What we wanted to do when we started a company, we wanted to change the world. We say we want to change the world one product at a time. And what we wanted to do is that we saw a lot of problems that we really wanted to solve. So we started a new division called Dialexa Labs. And Dialexa Labs, what we wanted to do is we see a big opportunity in the market, a huge problem in the market, and we would build the product to address it, assemble a team around it, and spin it off as its own company. And the first company we launched is called Vinli. Vinli is the first universal connected car platform. It's a platform that is enabled by a small device that can plug in any car manufactured after 1996 in the US. And the moment you plug in this device in your car, you can literally go into a 1996 car. Just imagine that. Take this device, plug it into the OBD port, which is the port that's literally under the dash, and you get access to high-speed internet. You get access to an app store on your phone. You can get apps like, hey, what's wrong with my car? It'll tell you without taking it to a mechanic, right? And also gets you services like accident and crash response, insurance services, and all of that. The beauty of this is that it's a universal platform for any car. So we're starting to democratize the automobile. And we wanted to start working on disrupting an industry that's been more than a century in the making. We built the product, and we announced it at TechCrunch Disrupt. We were in the final 6 at TechCrunch Disrupt San Francisco. And after that, just the floodgates opened. We got so much interest from a lot of companies. We were hitting the market at the right time. And we ended up closing around from some of the best players in the market. Samsung led the investment round, and then Cox Automotive, the largest automotive car ownership company, First Round Capital, which is an investor in Uber, Square, Mint, Wesley Group, an investor in Tesla, and Continental, one of the largest auto suppliers. So we managed to align the entire industry around us. And then we wanted to do a test how fast we can sell the product. And we ran a quick pre-ordering campaign, and we sold more than 1,000 units within 48 hours. So anyways, that really catalyzed all our efforts. And 2 weeks ago, we started shipping to customers. And now we're working on launching the product into 13 countries around the world. So if I want to just summarize it, how could a person from Wadi Zaini, who grew up with not having any money, and go to the United States with literally just a Samsonite bag, and slippers, and get to the level where we create a company that creates a lot of companies and make it in the United States? It's literally just boils down to believing in yourself, and have really big dreams and never, ever give up. Thank you.